of Salinas Valley Recycles. Welcome, Board of Directors, to this meeting of the February 18th. We just ask the public to use the raise hand function. I see some hands up already. I think there are folks that might need to be moved around, but as we go through this evening, we ask that you use *9 on a landline or cell phone to be recognized, or the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen if you're attending via Zoom. We appreciate you being here this evening. Can we go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'm going to see if Past President Cullen will lead us in the pledge.
I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, can we get a roll call, please, Erica?
Sure. We have Director Craig.
Here.
Director Cullen.
I'm here.
Director Jimenez.
Here.
Director Phillips.
Here.
Director Rocha is absent. Director Silva is absent. We have alternate Director Funk.
Yep, present.
Alternate Vice President Tipton.
Present.
Vice President Cromings.
Here.
And President Lopez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Want to share with the public, we do have translation services available. Those are available by calling in to 425-436-6345. The access code is 444666. Si necesitan servicios de traducción, si están disponibles en el número 425-436-6345 con el código 444666. At this point, I want to turn over and see if we have any comments from our general manager tonight.
Yeah, I just have one quick comment, just to announce to the board that at our last advisory committee, after the board approval of the bylaws, the committee unanimously elected Cesar Lara from the city of Salinas as the vice president for the advisory committee. And his role will be to run the meeting in the absence of the board, our board president, or his or her designee. So that's all for my announcements tonight.
Great, thank you very much, Patrick. Next up is our department manager comments. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor and see if we have any of those. All right, seeing no hands and hearing silence, we'll go ahead and head over to our board director comments, and we'll start with Supervisor Phillips. Supervisor Phillips, any comments for us tonight?
What, you're starting with the oldest and moving back the other way? Is that
just like the vaccine, Judge? Just like the vaccine.
That's thank goodness. We've had some concerns that have been expressed with the new process that Waste Management has on checking to make sure that everybody is recycled right and not overdone their recycling. And so there's been a lot of concern, and I've talked it over with Waste Management, and so that we've got a lot of input from our people. And so I have a March 4th outreach meeting with the community, and they're going to be involved to help explain people. I mean, people have to do a better job with the recycling, but the way they've been doing and finding people when the camera goes on them, people are getting upset and saying, well, I'm going to just quit the business. Or if I'm not recycling right, I'll just put everything in the trash and not recycle, which obviously is not what we want. So we're working on that. They've been responsive, but usually by the time the people get through the process, they're still upset, and it hasn't been good for us. In our waste management pickup thing that this agency worked with the county on, Smith and Enright has been working with us and I think doing a better job of getting our highways and other ones cleaned up. it's being run through the health department. I think it's going to move over to the public works to manage it for the county, but we are getting a lot of good responses on that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to go to Christy Cromings from the city of Salinas next. Christy, any comments tonight?
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Great. Kimberly Craig, Mayor Craig, any comments for us this evening?
None tonight. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Rocha, did you join us?
No comments from me.
Great, thank you. I know Liz Silva's not here, but her alternate is Mr. Funk. Councilmember Funk, any comments for us this evening?
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ben from Soledad, Councilmember Jimenez.
None.
Thank you. Drew Tipton from Greenfield, any comments this evening?
I actually do have one, and I don't know if it's going to affect everybody or if it's just affecting the South County at this point. Tri-Cities has the capability of doing a large item pickup, and we've gotten a lot of calls because basically the first available appointment for that large item pickup is 3 to 4 months out. So we've actually reached out directly to Tri-Cities, and they're basically saying that at this point it's an issue because they don't have manpower and vehicles available to do a large item pickup on demand as often as they'd like to. And they're recommending that all the cities band together and do a large item pickup, schedule a large item pickup where we can coordinate with everybody and they can authorize some overtime and some additional vehicles to do that. So it might be something that the other cities, not necessarily just in South County, but it's something Salinas or North County might be interested in participating in as well, is doing a large item pickup group deal, so to speak.
Thank you, Drew. And lastly, I'm going to go to the gentleman who recommended that I be left over on the public member side of this meeting, Rob Cullen from King City. Any comments this evening?
Who, me? I do have some comments, and actually the judge took some of the words out of my mouth because I was going to talk about the smart truck technology with waste management. There was a thread that got started on the King City Facebook page yesterday at 8:23 a.m. So in less than 36 hours, there are 213 comments related to people complaining about the smart truck technology. Most of it centers around areas where homes are close together. And so the GPS is picking up the wrong address, and then someone gets the nasty gram. I had one person that said that they've gotten 3 in the last, I forget the time period, but they've gotten 3. I mean, it doesn't even really matter what the time period is. And all of them have been for the neighbor. And then the comments are across the board. One of them was that last week there was a trailer park where each of the units have their own garbage can. And every single, this person is claiming that every single garbage can where the lid was not 100% down, that the truck just went past them. So there was a bunch of cans that were not emptied. And so you can imagine all the different comments, probably very similar to what the judge mentioned. And we need to go back to waste management, because furthering the judge's comments, there's a bunch of people that are saying, well, screw this, I'm just going to put everything in my garbage can and stop doing recycling or just other things. So it's becoming a pretty big and bad issue that we need to work with waste management on. So that's all for me tonight.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, I'm going to jump in last year. Did I miss anybody? Just want to see if I missed anybody that had comments this evening on the board member side. So I wanted to jump in and just share that I've also heard the same complaints. Want to thank, I had a couple members, city council members from King City reach out actually over 2 weeks ago, and we've started some conversations. But the other issue that gets paired with that in that region is also the Pine Canyon Road issue coming down in King City's Pine Canyon, with trash still flying out of the top and folks having to do a lot of litter cleanup. So they're saying I'm getting tagged for things that aren't my responsibility, and then at the same time I'm watching the truck drive away and throw a litter down the road. So it's a two sides on that argument, 2 issues of concern, and I have raised those and will continue to raise those. But I do think it's time to have a conversation perhaps in this forum to invite the community to participate and share perhaps in a separate forum their concerns around the program, to give some feedback to Waste Management, who has said that this is a pilot program that they need to figure out. And I know the Supervisor Phillips is having a community meeting up north. I did see a flyer for that, so I thought maybe I'd just send everybody up to you, Judge. What do you think about that? Just
Yeah,
kidding.
well, we've already received probably over 120 phone calls about this. So we got enough to keep us busy. Thank you.
It was worth a shot. No, but just want to, add my voice to that chorus of concern and make sure that it's something that we address quickly. I did want to also tag on to Supervisor Phillips's comment about Smith and Enright. Some of you may have read about the concern that is popping up around a virus that affects head lettuce called INSV. Thanks to the grower shipper, we have a new partnership that started its pilot program this week, moving from the airport in Salinas down to the Firestone business plant, where Smith and Enright went out and cleaned up that trash, mowed, and then did some spraying in the Caltrans right of way to limit the amount of vegetative winter growth that leads to safe harbor for the thrip, which carries the disease, INSV. So that launched, and you'll see some of those crews out there working. Please be kind and slow down as you drive through those areas, as it's important work that's going to help make sure that we stay a leader in terms of leafy greens in California. But just want to make sure that was on everybody's radar, and another unique partnership with the Grower Shipper Association, the county, Smith and Enright, and Caltrans working together to make that happen. So next on our agenda is the public comment portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity for the public to share comments regarding items that are not on this evening's agenda. We're going to go ahead and give 2 minutes per public speaker. If we have folks that would like to share their public comments with this board, I see a hand up from Grant Leonard, and I'll just remind folks to use the raise hand functions. If you're on the landline, *9 will unmute you, or I'm sorry, *6 will unmute you, *9 will raise your hand. And so at this point, we'll give the floor to Grant Leonard and give him 2 minutes to share his public comment with this board.
Thank you, Chair and board members. Grant Leonard from your Citizens Advisory Group, but also on the North Monterey County Chamber of Commerce. And I'm commenting today for the same thing that you, Chair, and also Board Member Phillips commented on, which is the need to have the community meeting up here about the smart truck technology. As you all know, it really is a significant issue for the folks in our district in the unincorporated area. And it's one of those things that just makes people upset, and it ends up making it harder to get people to recycle and to do the right thing with their waste. It's also coming at a time with when it's harder to recycle pressure treated wood, which is becoming an issue for contractors as well in the area, which is another new state law. So basically, a lot of folks are just getting more and more frustrated. And so I really appreciate having the community meeting and getting out there and hopefully getting some resolution to this, so people can go back to doing things the right way and not getting bitter about it. So I just want to send out that appreciation and look forward to the meeting on March 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. And I'll just share that we did not have any written public comments submitted for this evening. And with that, we will close our public comment period, seeing no additional hands up, and move into our consent calendar or consent agenda. On that, there is one correction. It's to the draft minutes, which are contained in item 1. The motion should read, Director Phillips made the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, with alternate Vice President Tipton seconding the motion. And then just want to go ahead and invite any public comments from directors on the consent calendar at this portion. All right, seeing no hands going up, I'm going to go ahead and see if we have any public comment on tonight's consent agenda. See a hand up from Esdras Rosas, the interpreter. Can we go ahead and mute that line and see if there's a comment or concern?
He is able to speak. Mr. Rosas, if you can hear us.
Yes, I'm here just waiting to see if there's any that needs my service. I dial and it's just the music going on with no response.
Correct. You just need to translate into that number that you called in. If the music stops, that means there's somebody in there listening.
Oh, okay. Any on this, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosas. All right, see no additional hands up. I will close public comment and bring it back and see if there's a motion with the changes mentioned at the top.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll take the motion from Cromings and the second from Phillips. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
For Director Craig,
Yes.
Director Collin,
Yes.
Director Funk,
Aye.
Director Jimenez,
Aye.
Director Phillips,
Aye.
Director Rocha,
Yes.
Alternate Vice President Tipton,
Aye.
Vice President Cromings,
Yes.
and President Lopez.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to head into our number 8 on tonight's agenda, which is a modern transfer station presentation. That's from Patrick Matthews.
All right, well, good evening, board members and members of the public, staff. This was a request made at the last meeting that we bring this presentation back just for general information and to bring everybody up to speed on what modern transfer stations look like, how they operate, and to help some of our new board members with a little background on what exactly is a transfer station and how it does. So there's a lot of pictures. You've all seen this. It was in the board packet. So I won't spend a lot of time on each individual picture, just to give you a little background to start. And then we'll sort of go through some of the samples that we've looked at over the last few years and talk a little bit about, what these facilities do. So first slide, please. So just for clarification, what we're really talking about is not what you see today, which was originally the interim or transitional transfer station for Sun Street. But actually the picture on your left is the Sunnyvale Smart Station, which is a combination transfer station and materials recovery facility. So just as an example, we are talking about, what a modern station looks like and not the current operation. Even though we do all these things at Sun Street, we're talking about fully enclosed, modern, architecturally pleasing buildings. Next slide, please. So what we call our materials recovery center is really just the various public drop-off and recovery areas. And so again, the types of transfer stations that this agency has been looking at or considering in its design standards for actually well over 20 years, enclosed buildings, recycling and recovery focus, basically a one-stop location for our public users, which make up the largest volume of traffic at our facilities. It maximizes greenhouse gas reduction by improving route productivity for haulers. Instead of driving a longer distance to a landfill, they have a more convenient, localized area to bring the garbage, and it actually reduces their travel time and makes them more productive. And so these aren't just waste transfer stations. We're talking about, again, a one-stop facility that allows us to do things like pre-processing for some of our diversion programs, and specifically 1383 programs that are online and coming online in the next couple of years. Next slide, please. So the public services that we do at Sun Street and that would be located at a new transfer station: household hazardous waste collection. Those are 939 mandated programs. Public recycling drop-off. Very high demand operation in our facilities. Organics, food waste, yard waste handling. Pre-handling that material is very important for not just separation, but also to make sure that material is being kept as clean as possible, so the end products we're making are marketable at the highest value. Public education center is often included. As an example, Sun Street currently has a teaching garden for home composting, vermicomposting, and other recycling education. So some form of public education center is usually included. And then optional space, potentially, it's always nice, as we have at Sun Street, a new location to co-locate our business offices there. Though that's not essential, it's a great option to have. as well as potentially having the ability to do resale, which also could be a great benefit, and we have a high demand for resale items. Next slide, please. So we'll start with Madison Lane, the project that we have been working on potentially co-locating with Republic Services, who owns the facility. This is an overhead view. Well, it looks like a fairly large facility. Their plan and the prior usage included at times a corporation yard. And so the corporation yard, truck fueling, truck parking, maintenance management takes up a large chunk of this. But that site would be adequate in size to accommodate our portion of the operations as well as the planned operations for Republic. And we'll be talking a little bit about that, those negotiations in closed session, and a brief update on the open session as well later on. But this is an overhead view of Madison Lane. Next slide, please. So just a couple of different viewpoints of what that facility looks like. It was built, I believe, in 1979, became fully operational in 1980 or 81. So it's a fairly large facility, but it's been well used, and does need some investment to bring it back up to what we would deem a sort of modern standard for a transfer station. But it is functional and has most of the attributes we'd be looking for. Next slide. Just another montage of different pictures. The current operation, you'll see fully enclosed, fair amount of space inside for segregation of different types of materials that may be going different directions. They move all the curbside recycling for Salinas out of this facility to consolidate it and truck it over to Monterey Regional for processing. They also segregate all the yard waste, organic material that's sent to us, as well as the refuse. Next slide. So here's a few other existing or conceptual projects. This is actually the South Bayside Solid Waste Authority Shoreway facility. It also is a materials recovery center, or MRF, and the transfer station has all the same functions that we have. Plus they have some advanced technology in there for advanced separation of organics, something we'll be talking a little bit more about in the coming months. But this is actually a concept drawing, but this is what it looks like. It's actually, this is an older photo, but the facility's been in operation for a number of years and was fully modernized and upgraded about 4 or 5 years ago. So as you can see, it looks just like any other industrial complex in the Bay Area, and all the services are provided indoors. Next slide, please. This is the facility, again, down in La Mesa. Again, a concept drawing, but I've seen this facility in person. This looks almost exactly like what they built. But again, fully enclosed, with some processing indoors. This one's primarily a transfer facility and a public service facility, very similar to what we're doing, but a multi-function facility for a very large region. Next slide, please. This is a facility that hasn't been built, but it was a concept during an RFP process up in Oakland. And again, with the emphasis here is really on the architectural design that makes what we all deem a solid waste facility actually a modern industrial facility with architecture that fits in with the environment that it is located in. Next slide, please. This is Waste Management's facility up in Tacoma, Washington. Again, very basic, simple design, pleasing. All the activities are located indoors to mitigate issues around litter, dust, noise, odors. These buildings can be equipped with vacuum systems to actually maintain a vacuum inside the building. Air scrubbers can, in extreme cases, air scrubbers can be added. Automatic doors can be added to prevent birds from coming in or going out, particularly if you're located near airports. So this is a good example of a fully highly functioning facility. Next slide, please. Just another picture of the Phoenix facility. You'll see this, I think, another slide in a minute, but this again, just a nice facility, sort of has a desert motif, fits in with the environment it's in. Next slide. Here's a little smaller facility, maybe a little more similar to what we would use if we were operating just a standalone community self-haul facility. This is designed a little more rural area. It primarily serves the general public, and you can see the recycling center in the foreground. Very similar to the types of recycling operations that we run at all our facilities, with drop boxes and some covered areas for inclement weather operation. Next slide, please. Another somewhat same picture you saw in the opening slide, City of Sunnyvale's smart station. Next slide, please. So just going off the deep end a little bit on architecture, here's a facility back in the East Coast. You can tell it's got a barn motif. This too is a smaller rural transfer station, serving a lot of self-haul customers in areas where they don't have as much organized franchise collection. And so again, it's designed to fit in with the architecture in the Delaware area that has a lot of older style barn structures and things. Next slide, please. This is the concept facility that I believe may be under construction already up in Berkeley. We did do a presentation specifically on this facility at a prior meeting a couple of years ago. This came out of their charrette process, where they invited the public in, got a lot of feedback on services and traffic flow and all kinds of things, because it is in a fairly high density area with a lot of residential areas, not immediately adjacent, but that have to traverse through this facility's traffic to get to their home. So there was a lot of sensitivity around community involvement, and so they did a really very extensive public project, very similar to what the City of Salinas has done in the past with some of their vibrancy planning. Next. This is just another view of that facility. There were a couple of different designs, and trying to take into account the input from the public. Actually had more than one meeting on this, where they took the input from the first meeting and came back with some revised designs and some changes in traffic flow, and really ended up with a fairly nice facility that again has a hauler courtyard attached to it, materials recovery for single stream curbside recycling, as well as all the public services. And this replaces a long-standing existing facility that was fairly well worn out and needed to be expanded and updated to serve a growing community. Next slide, please. Just a plan view of the same facility, so sort of showing the different functions that are occurring inside that larger building. Next slide, please. So there's a couple of things. Obviously, some of the things you always look for in designing a newer facility or updating an old facility is, things around energy conservation. So things like translucent roofs. I know the Madison Lane facility has some translucent panels in there. It's still fairly dark, probably because the panels just need to be replaced, because they're well faded and clouded, because they're very old. But things like translucent panels, you can see this one has them both on the sidewalls as well as the roof. This provides a lot of natural lighting, reduces your energy demand, and again, makes the building a little lower maintenance without all the lighting infrastructure that's needed. Next slide, please. And here's the Sun Street Transfer Station. This was the original design. And again, this design and the various layouts that we've done over the years relative to this can be picked up and put on another parcel as well. This was a full-scale facility, though, that was designed to accommodate the kind of traffic that we're talking about at Madison Lane. But something of this is here mostly for the architectural viewpoint, just to show that here's something that was, attempting to try to stick with a motif that would fit well with the feedback that the consultant was getting from the city at the time about architectural standards for city design. Next slide, please. And again, here's just the overhead plan view of how Sun Street would have been used had we gone forward with the next phase of building this facility. So it included, again, all the same operations we have today, just modernizing it, all asphalt, fully enclosed facility. Next slide, please. So the goal as we go forward, again, and our focus is because Republic Services has Madison and the ability now to move all of the city franchise garbage in and out through that facility. You know, our goal is to try to combine what we're doing at Sun Street, which is 100,000 plus customers, which includes, you know, a portion of Republic's refuse is still coming to Sun Street, but to bring those 100,000 customers either to Madison or if that doesn't work out, to another location, and to continue to provide all the services, but in a modern transfer station setting. This is a high demand facility. I won't bother you with the survey work. I think we all know the public is very, you know, sees this as a very beneficial facility. Obviously fits in with the city's strategic plan goals of having a well-planned city with excellent infrastructure. So whether it's at Madison or somewhere else, I think it fits well within those parameters. And having the modern facility and having one that has the ability to manage things a little better, because we're very cramped at Sun Street right now under the current layout, is going to be really critical going forward for our compliance, and specifically around organics. And it's not just managing the stuff that's coming in now, but the potential to consider other advanced technologies for further recovering organics that are embedded in the mixed waste. That's some of the work that we're starting to explore right now. We'll be talking with the board about that in the coming months. So having a good modern facility actually is going to be very supportive of those future efforts. I believe that's the last slide.
I see a hand up from Rob Cullen. Why don't we start with Rob?
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to start off because I was the one who asked to have this presentation. And it's in large part because as we talk about other locations, it's easy to get lost within that conversation, lose the fact that we're talking about moving locations, but what is it actually going to look like? And this is so important to see what designs can look like, because not a single one of those designs we looked at is anywhere close to the current state of Sun Street transfer station. And so obviously we need to educate ourselves first on what it can look like. But as we have these conversations with the public or with the advisory group, these are the visions that they need to have, so we can see there is a better future for us. And we're not just picking up Sun Street and dropping it somewhere else. We're going to build a nice new modern transfer station, modern material recovery center. So just wanted to start with those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Let's see if there's any other questions from board members or comments. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go out, take this to the public and see if we have any public comment on this presentation. Again, just remind folks the raise hand function should be utilized, or *9 via landline or cell phone. Seeing no hands going up, we'll close public comment, bring it back and see if, I know that there was no action needed on this, but see if there's any final thoughts. I see a hand up from Supervisor Phillips.
Yeah, they look, I'm impressed with what they look like, but that's something we always knew. And I think this is a good thing, because we know we have to have a transfer station in the Salinas area, whether it's Madison Lane or we find another place and put a building in that looks like the other ag buildings that we see around town. So I thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm going to go over to Christy Cromings. Councilmember Cromings, the floor is yours.
I thank you, Patrick, for bringing this back to us again. I think it's important for us to keep looking at it. And I think it's important for everybody to see what could be. I think my only comment is going to be that I am concerned that Madison Lane is a Band-Aid, to put it mildly, I guess, that we really need to step into a new century with a new facility and really bring ourselves up to a standard in trash that is above everyone else. And, so my only concern after, being put on this board and seeing this presentation for the first time, when I seen it, my concern about, I feel like Madison Lane is a step backwards. So, I'll continue to, talk to the city of Salinas and look at what else we could possibly do. But, I just wanted to make that opinion known. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Drew Tipton next. Drew.
Thank you. So thinking about all this, thinking about the fact that we were looking at doing a brand new facility somewhere, as Commissioner Cromie just mentioned, we don't necessarily want to look at Madison Lane as this, because Madison Lane is a step back. But what I'm wondering is do we have plans for this in our back pocket? Because with the timelines being accelerated by the city of Salinas for us to move out of Sun Street and into Madison Lane or some other facility, if we're going to move to Madison Lane in the short term or look for some other property in the short term, do we have plans available to start building that facility, or are we just going to end up with doing another Sun Street?
Well, I'll give you the quick answer. We will never do another Sun Street. That's not in, it's never been in the authorities' planning. That Sun Street was, as we call it, a transitional facility, was getting us started, while the bigger facility, the permanent enclosed facility, was designed and financed. But the LSL Marketplace came along in between buying the property and setting that up, and the time when the board was ready to actually start final design and bidding and construction. So we have several different concept plans that we've developed over the many years, looking at different sites. So we have good starting points for what we need. It's not rocket science. We're talking about a big square ag building, clear span, enough room on the ground for car maneuvering, and a lot of the infrastructure that supports it. A lot of it is mobile things like drop boxes, maybe some pole barns outside, those kind of things. So it's not a real complex design. The biggest issue is really making sure you can adequately handle traffic. You have queuing space on site, because we have moments where we have a lot of cars waiting. And if you don't have enough queuing space, they're backed up out in the street. So even though Sun Street has a lot of queue space when we get traffic, we still have days or hours where we may have trucks out in the street and 20 or 30 cars in the site waiting in a queue. That's the kind of demand we have. So traffic becomes a big critical factor in how you design the facility, but the actual building itself is simple.
Oh, I understand that. But like I said, is what I want to make sure of is if we do find a location that we decide we're going to go on, I don't want to see the authority go through and just say, okay, well, we're just going to start building and never end up getting there because we don't have.
Point of order. We are on a discussion about a modern transfer station, not the details of moving to Madison Lane. That is a different topic.
Understood. The question was, do we have the plans available right now? And it sounds like we have some in the pocket.
Just concept plans. We don't have any constructible plans at this point.
Right. Mayor Craig, I know your hand was up there for a second. Was there something beyond the point of order at this point?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Then any other hands up from directors? All right. Seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to our next item, which is a request for fiscal year 2021-22 preliminary budget direction. And I believe that's going to be Ray Hendricks. And Ray, is there any information you want to give ahead of time before putting up your presentation in terms of challenges?
No information. First I want to apologize. I keep getting my internet is timing out notice on the screen. So hopefully I don't drop off. I don't understand why my kids aren't even here. Usually they're the ones eating up my bandwidth. But the presentation itself is largely unchanged. Actually, what I'm looking for is, I don't know, Chris, Rob, you guys have heard this 3 times now. Either one of you want to give the presentation for me?
I'm good. Rob? I think we're going to leave it to the professionals. Thanks, Ray.
All right, well, I tried. All right, so this is the proposed budget. Most of the slides are largely unchanged from the January board and EC meeting, as well as the February EC meeting. So I know it's probably new to our alternate, but I believe everyone else has seen this at least once, if not 2 or 3 times. So I apologize if I go too fast. Please feel free to interject and slow me down. So just to reiterate the actual budget assumptions in the preliminary budget, the increased organics program that was approved in September 2017. So there are the 3rd year of those rate increases were scheduled for last year, but were deferred. So those increases are built into the budget, along with another small adjustment to get those programs close to fully self-funded. Some initial implementation for the SB 1383 requirements, which we need to start working on. The preliminary budget does call for equalization of organics rates for all member agencies, but we will discuss what alternate rate increases will look like towards the end of the presentation. And the implementation of the organics wood waste recovery sort line. Once again, we were going to phase that in over a couple of years, but with the deferred rate increases that occurred last year, we're going the full needed rate to fund that new program. And there are no other major program changes at this time. In January, the board adopted mid-year budget adjustments for organics processing and some increased set-aside required from increased tonnage requirements, as well as some CIP adjustments. So those are the comparables. Do take those budget adjustments into account. All right, so we are talking about a balanced budget. 21-22 proposed budget is $23,271,000 in budgeted revenue, and total expenditures of $23,265,000, including, and that does include CIP, the CIP budget for a surplus balance of $6,850. So the payroll budget increases, the scheduled COLAs for 64 employees that are in the MOU is just shy of 170,000. Merit increase, scheduled merit increases. A lot of our employees have been around a while, so they're actually at the top of their pay scales, but the scheduled merit increases are 92,000. Health insurance premiums are scheduled to increase 88,000, and the net of all the other benefit changes is an actual decrease 17,500. So the apples to apples, the payroll increases are 332,000. The budget does include prepayment use of one-time funds to pre-fund PERS unfunded liabilities. That's the CEPPT program. So when we look at the budget, the net payroll increase is 161,000, but the part that needs to be funded through the actual operating budget is 333,000. Next slide, please. We are requesting 2 new positions in the 21-22 budget. One's an equipment maintenance technician. Salary and benefits for the position we're estimating 151,000. We are looking to fund this through what will be savings from the vehicle maintenance. We funded 1 position in the 2021 budget, but we just have way more vehicles than 1 person can handle. Adding a 2nd person will help us manage our entire fleet. And then with 2 equipment maintenance, they may be able to handle some of the larger work items. But like I said, this is all built into the budget right now through the vehicle maintenance budget. And we're expecting to have enough savings to pay for this position. The other position we're looking for is another resource recovery technician, and it's a long list of job duties, but essentially this person's gonna be the primary focus, gonna be implementing the SB 1383 requirements that are needed. Salary and benefits are $116,000. We're looking to fund that through an increase in AB 939 fees. So the total operating budget increases are the payroll increases we just discussed of $333,000. Insurance increases is $240,000. The majority of that was unexpected insurance increases that we had in 2021. $202,000 of that was higher than expected premiums that we kind of borrowed from some of the operating fund budgets. So we're up, kind of restoring those budgets and adding an incremental increase as well. SB 1383 implementation, $208,000. So that's the new body that we're requesting, as well as some consultant work and supplies needed to start work on the programs. CPI increase for our organics processor of $50,000, fuel increases of $33,000, increases in state and regional fees of $30,000, and then all the other budget adjustments actually decrease the budget by a little over $15,000. So the total operating budget increases are $877,000. Just refresher, we are currently paying $3.1 million in debt service. We did have refinanced that in 2014 and took the savings up front, and the debt service slowly scaled back up to what we were originally paying. So we may be paying $3.1 million until fiscal year 26-27, and when it starts to taper down with the final payment, that's current debt service payment being scheduled for August 1st of 2031. Our CIP budget, we do try to fund our CIPs over time. So we set aside money in order to try to keep the CIP budget equal year over year and build up funds, especially with the equipment replacement, where some of those larger pieces of equipment are a couple $1 million at the landfill. So CIP budget is largely the same year over year. Small increase for post-closure maintenance at the Lewis Road site for some flare improvements that are scheduled a few years from now. The organics recovery program, we started with $200,000 set aside last year, but the need is going to be about $250,000. So that's to start setting aside money with some continued improvements and set aside money to replace the equipment that we've installed with the grant over the last couple of years. And then the roadway maintenance improvement, that's essentially a new budget. The mid-year budget had a small amount to fully fund the project that was just finished on Iverson Road. And then some starting to set aside a small amount at Holon Road. So we have money set aside for when we need to do improvements over there. So the CIP budget is scheduled to increase about $184,000, and actually going forward, it should be fairly flat with the same set aside for the next several years. So how are we going to pay for this? So as I mentioned, the preliminary budget does call for rate equalization. So the equalizing the organics rate for Salinas would increase our revenues by $460,000. The other scheduled organics increases our revenue by $318,000. We're requesting an increase of $260,000 in our AB 939 fee, and that's mainly to fund the SB 1383 programs we discussed in the earlier slide. A dollar increase in the transportation surcharge, as well as some increased tonnage that we can better track now Halon Road Transfer Station would increase revenue by $136,000. We are asking for rate increase to construction and demolition, but that tonnage has decreased dramatically. So we're looking at a reduction of almost $200,000 in revenue. And then all the other revenue adjustments are increase of $71,000. So total revenue increase of little over $1 million. So rate changes. We are looking for no rate in solid waste tipping fee. We did in the mid-year budget increase our tonnage projection, and we're looking to actually have that remain flat over the next few years, and hope that we don't have any substantial decreases in tonnage. The green waste self-haul, we had a $3 deferred increase last year, and we're looking to get that closer to the franchise rate. So we're looking to increase that to $48 a ton. Franchise organics rate was a deferred increase of $5 per ton. And just a reminder that this was phasing that large increase over 3 years. So that was the third year of that phase in. And then we were gonna have a kind of true up this year. So that gets us to $50 a ton. C&D program, as I mentioned, we were going to try to phase this in over a couple of years, but since we deferred it, we do need, and especially with some decreased tonnages, the cost of that program is about $68.50 per ton. Sludge, we just are looking for the deferred rate increase from last year. Wood waste, we carry the same as green waste. Transportation surcharge, the 75 cents that was deferred, and conscious of that, just a small amount on top of that for $18.75. And the clean fill dirt, we were slowly increasing that, but we have a surplus of dirt at Johnson Canyon. So we really don't have a home for dirt. So we kind of want to encourage our customers to take their dirt somewhere else. So if it's coming to us, it really needs to be at the rate of the garbage rate, because that's basically what it's doing, is displacing garbage. So just a reminder, you know, green waste and C&D are our two largest current diversion programs. So they're meant to reduce our solid waste tonnage, which is what pays for our closed landfills or debt service and a bunch of other things. So we definitely need green waste and C&D to at least pay for themselves and not require funding through our solid waste tipping fees that they're meant to reduce. In the AB 939 increase, like I mentioned, the preliminary budget does call for a $185,000, so rate increase. So that's 82 deferred plus another 85,000 this year, for a total of 260,000. Next slide. So the actual staff reports have the full breakdown of equalized organics rate and non-equalized organics rates. So I don't know if any discussion has happened with Republic or Salinas for the equalized organics rates. So absent that, staff would recommend increase to the AB 939 fee. As I mentioned, solid waste tipping fee still funds a large portion of those programs. So so they're still not quite self-funded. But absent of going through the entire rate comparison on your screen, you can see what the difference between the two options are. So one is fully equalized organics rate. One is a supplemental $460,000 AB 939 fee increase on top of what was proposed in the budget. With the difference, you know, being a small savings for Salinas for residential and a increase of 15 to 30 cents for self-help customers, and 1 cubic yard commercial customers from $1 to $2 increase, and 3 cubic yard from $2 to $5 per ton. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. And really what I'm looking for is some feedback. We schedule our rate hearing for March. So I'd really like to hear from the board on what rate package to build to bring back to the EC in 2 weeks and to the full board 4 weeks from now.
Thank you, Ray. First, we'll see if there's any comments from directors. Quiet bunch tonight. Okay, so then what we'll do is open it up for public comment at this point, reminding folks to use the raise hand function. Seeing no hands going up, we'll close public comment and bring it back. So Ray, you're looking for direction. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, please.
Figured I'll talk because no one else is raising their hand. I guess I'll start things off by saying I think that we should come back with the equalized organics rates, that scenario at EC, and then for the rate hearing.
Thank you. We'll go to Supervisor Phillips next.
I concur completely. If we can't get an agreement to equalize the rates, then maybe we have to drop all the rates back down to where the city of Salinas has it, and then we raise rates across the board somewhere else. But we have to get out of that agreement, or get them to agree out of that agreement. It's not right when 60% of it is coming from Salinas and we're subsidizing them to some degree. So we've talked about this before. I'm hoping the Salinas people will work with us to get this fairness worked out.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor Craig.
Thanks. I wasn't going to comment on it just because I certainly need to speak with staff on, what that looks like for us. As always, we have a commitment to work with you guys, but certainly had some concerns the last time around in terms of what those rates were looking like, particularly for, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was for our commercial rates. I don't remember because it's been a couple of years for me, but I'll get caught up to speed and then certainly provide feedback after that. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw a hand go up and then come down from Patrick. Patrick, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll just so everybody sort of understands process, because Ray and I had a long discussion about this today, and the reality is this agreement is between the authority and Republic. The city is not a direct party to the agreement. However, the way the agreement was written is it is tied to the current franchise and any extensions or restatements of that agreement. So it basically goes on in perpetuity as long as Republic remains the city's hauler. So Republic has on many occasions over the years stated publicly that they're okay with terminating the contract, because again, it's authority Republic agreement. The city has no signatory authority in that agreement. However, Republic has said, as long as the city is willing to allow us to pass through the costs through. So the decision that has to be made really has to be made by the city. That's up to the city and their council to decide whether it can be done administratively or requires council action. But ultimately, the city, based on Republic's prior public comments, the city Republic has put them in the driver's seat, in essence, saying, we're okay terminating that agreement, going to equalize rates, but the city has to agree to that. So just a little background for folks that maybe aren't familiar with why we're having this discussion again.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm going to go back to Supervisor Phillips.
Well, I've never seen a contract that goes forever and ever and ever, So if we can't get the city behind us to equalize this, then I think we have to look at our lawyers to see how do we terminate this, or do something to equalize it, because it's as it is not right. So I've never seen a contract that goes on forever and ever and there's a lot of changed circumstances. It may be good basis to terminate the contract. So
thank you, Supervisor. So with that, I know staff was looking for direction. I heard some direction from Rob that was Are we looking for an official motion this evening, or are you just looking for general direction, Ray?
I think general direction is all I need. So I will, I guess, build the rate package with an equalized organics rate, and I guess just as an alternate show, just like I did here, what a supplemental AB 939 fee would look like, just in case that's what we end up needing to do when we get to the rate hearing a month from now. Unless I missed the direction, is that okay?
We'll go back to Mr. Matthews.
Yeah, I just want to remind the board that we did receive written comment from Steve McCaffrey, who was the general manager for the Salinas operation. He's now regional sales manager, but still in charge of this, and made it very clear that they want to see us. They don't want to see us make that adjustment because they have received no authority from the city. So while I hear what Supervisor Phillips is saying, and that's a discussion for a different night and a different agenda, but we'll definitely council and I will look into that and have some discussions with the executive committee first about what that agreement means and if we really have any out. But the way it is written, unfortunately, it is tied to the current franchise holder and all restatements and extensions of that agreement. And it's a fairly simple agreement. I'm not sure why exactly we signed it. We signed a similar agreement with Waste Management, but it had a termination date. That has come and gone, and Waste Management customers are all paying the full equalized rate now. So I just want to advise you that, because as you give Ray this direction, we're coming back with an equalized rate based budget. We don't have any concurrence to change that agreement at this point. So
we'll stick Roy on them to figure out a way, right? That's what I keep hearing coming from Supervisor Phillips. So that's part of the direction. Go, Roy, go. But I see a hand up still from Supervisor Phillips. Any additional comments there, Supervisor? Was that a legacy hand?
Yeah, that was an old hand. Thank you.
All right. All right, then with that, if there's no additional comments from directors, we'll consider direction shared from this board and Ray's direction and consider the item complete. We did take that out to public comment, and we're going to head into our last item for the evening, which I believe is Patrick's as well. Patrick?
Yeah, well, actually, my comments under 10 are fairly extremely brief. Just to give you an update on where we are with our discussions. We'll have a little more substantial discussion in closed session about some direction that we'll need from the board to hopefully conclude those discussions with Republic Services and the city of Salinas. So we have met. There was a little delay in some response, but we had reconvened a couple of weeks ago, actually before the executive committee meeting with, again, the same negotiating group, which is Assistant City Manager Jim Pia, Dave Jacobs, Public Works Director, myself, Cesar Zuniga, General Manager, Assistant General Manager, as well as 3 representatives from Republic Services, 2 local folks, Steve, and you haven't met Luis, the new General Manager, but he was there, as well as their business development or government business development manager from their corporate offices in the Bay Area. So we continue to have the discussions. We did make some progress, albeit at every meeting the progress is a little slow, and usually it's around 1 or 2 items. But I think we're getting close to something that could be workable. But we'll have to discuss that, because there are some real property components to this we'll have to discuss in closed session. But we are continuing those discussions, and today we are at a point where we've given the board sort of final direction to Republic and what they're looking for. They've indicated that they're going to come back and look at a structure that would address some of the board's concerns that were raised at the last meeting and offer up a potential solution that we can place in the letter of intent, which again, for everybody's benefit, is the framework for the various agreements that we would immediately, assuming we both parties could sign this agreement, we would immediately move into drafting those formal agreements, which are things like leases and operating agreements. It's the nitty gritty, but it's not the hard part. The hard part is understanding the framework, and that's what we're working on with this letter of intent. So that's all I have in terms of our current discussions.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll open it up to directors first. Seeing no hands going up, we'll take it out for public comment. Seeing no hands going up, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the directors. I know it says to see if there's any recommended action, provide input. So I know that this is an opportunity for us to share this information that we wish to share with Patrick here in public now. If not, we'll go ahead and close the item. Seeing no hands going up, we'll go ahead and consider that item received at this point and look at our future agenda. Patrick?
Thank you. So March is again usually our big month. That is where we try to approve the final budget. We have the public rate hearing. We do that, as we've said before, we do that to assist our franchise haulers in their rate setting processes, which start in the month of April with submittals of the rate packages, conclude with rate hearings with each of the respective jurisdictions, and provide for at least a 30-day noticing period of any changes in rates to the customers before implementing those new franchise rates effective July 1st, which is the same effective date as our agreement, with the exception of the county. That I won't go into that, a little different, but they do things on a calendar year. So it's a little different formula, but again, we do this the way we do it to work within the needs of the franchises as well. So we're also going to be coming back as promised. This item may change depending on the final review from the consultants, but coming back with a little primer on landfill development, which we haven't done for a long time. Talk about Johnson Canyon, how that landfill gets built out in the future, what our options are. There'll be some discussion around the issue of soil balance and some creative work that Brian Kennedy's been doing with our consultant to be able to retain all that excess soil we have as part of the closure work for the landfill. And so it's actually sort of an exciting project if you're a garbage geek like Brian and I. But it's just an opportunity to sort of talk a little bit about where Johnson Canyon's going in terms of its long-term development. And hopefully we'll have something more under item 8 if we can be successful with Republic, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight and get some direction, and hopefully have something more to share than just a quick update. We'll also be doing I know this has been a topic, we'll be doing an update on the treated wood waste program, and we actually have some good news. There is light at the end of the tunnel with Department of Toxic Substances Control, and we've applied for a variance that may allow us to, again, go back to landfilling and sort of deal with this regulatory hiccup that the governor created when he failed to sign a bill at the end of last year. We were all stuck, not knowing what to do with treated wood waste. So we're hopeful there'll be a solution that can be put into effect in the month of March, and we'll get that past us. But we'll give you a formal update on that. We'll know more by the March meeting. So that's it. If there's anything else the board would like us to bring back, or other topics of interest, feel free to let myself or Erica know, and we'll be more than happy to add it to the agenda.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll see if there's any comments from directors. Seeing none, we'll take it out to the public. I do see a hand up in the public. We'll go ahead and give 2 minutes to Kristen Scromey.
Hey everyone, another garbage geek here. I just wanted to say I'm sorry I couldn't chime in earlier at public comment, but I have received your comments regarding our smart truck technology. We are working through a lot of issues right now, so I appreciate your patience, and I would love to be a part of a community meeting as we are in District 2. So let's set something up and resolve those issues quickly. And I just want to say thank you. And I am very sorry for all the commotion it's caused and all the calls to your offices. So I'm here to help and be part of the community. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. A little out of order, but we'll take it. At this point, I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to bring it back and see if there's any final comments from directors. All right, seeing nobody jumping at the opportunity, we're going to go ahead and share with the public that at this point, we're going to recess to closed session. Director should have received an email at 12:22 with the information for that login. And before we do that, we want to open this item up for any public comment. As you'll see on the screen, item number 12 is the item we're going into closed session on. And this is an opportunity for the public to share any comments they have on that item with us. So public comment is open. Seeing no hands going up, we're going to close public comment. And at this point, the board is going to recess to closed session. Again, that link for directors came out this afternoon around 12:22. You should have it in your email, and we'll see you there. And we'll reconvene here before exiting the meeting. So we'll see you at closed or after. Thank you, everybody. We're back, Erica.
Welcome back.
All right. Let's see, did we get everybody? I see Drew, Rob, Anthony.
I'm here. Yay.
Welcome,
Did
Christy.
I get my name
You're
back?
there.
I don't know how
You're
that
there.
happened.
You're no longer cozy. Good or
Good.
bad or indifferent.
They might have renamed you when you came back in on this side.
I see Scott.
If you could see me now, I'm pretty cozy. That's why my video's turned off.
Wait, Craig, I think we're just missing Ben.
Yeah, I'm moving some people over still.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Is that everybody, Erica?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and reconvene here in open session and turn to council to see if there's anything to report out of closed session this evening.
Nothing to report out at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, council. With that, we're going to consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you all for the hard work tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.